Hey, what's up? Welcome to Heal, Laugh, and Rise Up. I'm Yezi, your badass two-time cancer fighter, soul work mentor, and your favorite Latina.
Hi, and I'm Amber, a chemo nurse by day, caretaker to my husband by night, all while being a scrunchy mom.
We're here to talk all about our traumas and how we use them to grow, honey.
So grab your drink and let's get into today's miracle and shit show. Kind of just touch base, give a little background.
Give a little background.
Let's start with, you know what?
Yeah.
Tell me, like, your perspective or your relationship with cancer before, during, and after.
I like that, girl. We talked about, you and I have talked about this. It's a story that doesn't really end, so you can't really put it in 20 minutes, but here it goes. So my relationship with cancer before my actual diagnosis in 2020 was pretty personal. My grandmother died of cervical cancer before I was born. And from the stories that I've heard from my mom and my aunts, I don't have a lot of stories of my grandma. The one story that does stick out always is grandma had a very painful end of life. She lived in the rancho where there's no doctors, no hospitals. And, we're talking about in the early 70s or mid 70s.
This is in Mexico?
In Mexico,
okay.
In El Rancho, where there's no electricity, there's no water. So grandma pretty much knew she was not going to be here long. And I heard that it was a painful way to pass away. So that's my first relationship with cancer. Then my grandfather on the other side passed away of cancer when I was maybe at a high school. In high school, I'm trying to remember. And then, as if that's not enough, my father passed away of cancer 10 years ago. And in 2020, I was diagnosed with a very rare type of cancer
so I'm sorry. I'm just until you were diagnosed, had you heard any good outcomes with cancer, or was it always a death sentence?
Oh, that's a good question.
I remember you saying one time your mom's relationship with cancer was just a death sentence. Well, something like that.
Yeah, I think.
Was that also your case?
You know what? I guess I never really reflected back and really gave that a lot of thought.
But it maybe wasn't the thought.
I don't think so.
Okay, good.
But let me can I tell you all something that I haven't really said? This is going to sound really weird because it even makes me nervous to say it. I wonder if I manifested it myself. No, right? No.
No, I don't believe
it. Okay, I don't believe it either. I always, this is weird to say it, but I'm going to say it. I always thought I would get cancer.
Really?
Yes. Can I tell you why?
Please.
I had an ovarian cyst about 18 years ago. They took it out. It was just a dermoid cyst. It was nothing.
But when you first found out I thought
it was cancer.
Okay.
And then I thought, oh shit, I think I have cancer. Then they lab it. They always lab everything, and it came back nothing.
Like biopsy it and
they took the whole thing. And then it came back, the same ovary, years later. And I just thought, this is it. It didn't get me the first time. It's going to get me this time. And it wasn't cancer. And then it came back again, the same damn ovary in 2020. So now we're talking about 3 different times.
On the same side?
Same size, same ovary, left ovary. Had to get it laparoscopically removed, if I said that correctly. I'm not sure. By the way, the first surgery, they busted my bladder and had to go home with the catheter for 2 weeks.
I remember that, actually.
That was fun. So fun.
Anyways,
2020 comes back. And I remember one time being in the shower and I had a pain. I have this pain that I get it in my bone, my...
where it's very sensitive to the surface of your chest.
People call it... yes. And sometimes back here.
Yeah, just
in
like
your back.
If someone touches it, it hurts more than you think it should.
Yes. I don't know what they call that, but I've had that. And I just never been diagnosed with what it was until I did a little research. So I always thought, and then after my dad passed away, I said, oh my gosh, I think, because I'm going by genetics.
Yeah,
right?
You're thinking, everyone in my family.
Right. And so anyways, when 2020, I had a cyst and it came back and the doctor's like, well, it looks like the same thing. It doesn't look like anything. Do you want to keep checking it? And I said, yeah. She said, we're going to check it every 6 months. I said, can I please check it every 3 months? And she said, sure. So every 3 months I was getting an ultrasound, and it was not getting big or small. At one point, it actually got smaller.
Oh.
It shrunk a little bit. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't think it's cancer because it wouldn't have shrunk. But then I don't know anything about cancer, right? So gets bigger and it's hurting. The doctor's like, let's take it out. Is it okay if we just go ahead and take out the ovary? I said, I should have took out this ovary years ago. Takes out the whole thing. In the process of taking it out, the damn thing ruptures.
Is it a fluid?
It had fluid. It had fluid in the cyst.
So the fluid and whatever cells in the fluid are now all over your internal area, like all over the organs and stuff in there. Okay, in that cavity.
In that cavity, which is in my reproductive area, right?
Yeah.
So I remember I'm waking up and the doctor's like, we took it out, and she's like, it ruptured. But they're telling you these things when you're half asleep.
But it's just a cyst.
And it's just a cyst because she's been checking it and there's no cancer. It seems like the same cyst from before. And here's now reflecting back, it took her 2 weeks to call me to give me the diagnosis, because after she came in and gave me the diagnosis, she said she had gotten together with other oncologists and other doctors.
Do you remember what you thought about that?
Yes. I thought maybe they're wrong. So 2 weeks after my surgery, she calls me and she tells me, and I'm recovering from surgery, so I'm in bed. Alex is at work. And she calls me and she says, I'll have your results. And I said, okay. And she says, are you driving?
Let me ask.
Yeah.
The other times when you had your cysts removed and biopsied, did she call you, or would you just get like
I'm trying to remember. I don't remember her physically calling me and telling me it's nothing. Okay. I remember saying, if it's something, we will call. We will reach out.
Okay. And then when you got this call,
I didn't really think.
Okay.
Until she said, are you driving? And then I knew in my heart and in my gut, this is the moment that I have in my mind, knew it was going to happen someday. And this is a moment that I've known for years. I know, it's so weird. So when she told me, are you home? Are you driving? I said, no. She says, where are you? And I said, home. And then she said, are you alone? And I was like, lady, just give me the C word. I know you're about to tell me. Just give it to me straight. And she said, well, unfortunately, it's cancer. And I just, like, when you hear that, your whole heart stops for a second. And I said, okay. She said, but we're not going to, she said, we're going to take a CT scan. We're going to check your whole body. So this, my father had cancer. By the time they checked it, it was all over his spine. It was everywhere. So that was my first thought. And she said, we're going to do a CT scan. And then when I went in and I remember talking to her, she said, I wanted to make sure, I guess they talked to other oncologists, because this cancer that came back is a very rare cancer. And it's a slow growing. She told me it's a slow growing and it doesn't attack the lymph nodes and all the good stuff it could be. And I said, okay.
Very good prognosis of a cancer.
Very good prognosis of cancer. Absolutely.
Still cancer, though.
Still cancer, and still a high reoccurrence, one that is kind of hard to get rid of.
Slow to grow, but hard to kill.
Yes. So I said, okay. And then she asked me if I wanted to bear children, because she did tell me that she had a few, maybe she didn't tell how many, have this cancer. And there was one particular case that wanted to have children. So she went ahead and had children before she had a hysterectomy and moved on the direction of never wanted kids. And she said, okay, then I recommend the total hysterectomy. And I said, I'm down. And she said, we're doing it in 4 weeks. So 4 weeks from my first surgery.
Wow.
Back to back. I had a total hysterectomy, which the recovery to that was very hard, because my body didn't heal from the first surgery.
Yeah, you're barely healing.
So what happened is,
physically, maybe not even mentally yet.
Physically,
and you're just being bombarded with more mental strain, right?
Where you're not even
emotional.
Right now. You can't process, because you're like, okay, we got to do this. But I'm so grateful that everything has moved in a very fast pace, and not because of my cancer is a very dangerous, but it just, God has been very good, and everything has always been fast with me. So 4 weeks later, I had a total hysterectomy. When they did a total hysterectomy, they sent it to the lab, and they saw that the outside wall of the uterus had some cancerous cells, and that outside wall had already touched my body. So she says, we recommend some chemo.
Is the thought process it's in that area because of the rupture, or just because it could have spread? Or you don't know, it wasn't explained?
You know what? I didn't ask that question.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'm curious too. And I said, okay. And then it was just kind of like, okay, we got to do chemo, but very nonchalantly.
But you didn't have like tumors you were trying to shrink.
No, we're
get
not
rid
trying
of more surgery. It was just precautionary, kind of being proactive
Right.
instead of later reactive.
Right.
Let's just kill whatever's going on. I've seen this. So.
You have, huh?
Yeah, that's common.
Okay, that's common. Well, girl, when you walk into the doctor and he's like, okay, she's like, okay, well, we just got to do chemo. And I'm like,
super like it's no big deal.
Yes, like, oh, you got to drink this water.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, and you know me, we talked about it a little bit before, or maybe we haven't. I'm trying to remember. My hair was always my signature. It was always like maybe if I didn't feel beautiful.
I feel like you were definitely, at least in my perspective as friendship before cancer, you were the girl with the bomb hair, the hair and the hips girl. That was you.
Hair and the hips girl. And I went from the hair and the hips to the bald and the skinny.
You know what? We're going to post some pictures of the hair and the hips. I'll make sure they're up by tomorrow.
So the most interesting thing about that is because the hair was always my identity, and it was always the most thing physically that I was always proud of, because I would cut my own hair, dye my own hair, layer it, curl it. Like,
you did all that yourself?
Can I tell you something?
Tell me.
I've never been to a hairdresser.
Oh my God, but your hair was always amazing.
I'm 46, never been to get my hair, never.
Girl,
shout out to all the hairdressers. I'm one of you.
Yeah.
I'm like you, baby.
Like you're not
I'm like you. And now that I shave my head and I cut my everything, I don't go to the barber. I do this. I was at the infusion 2 weeks ago, and they're like, oh, nice haircut. I'm like, I did it myself. They're like, what? Anyways, that's a different. So we did chemo, 4 rounds of chemo. And, shaved my head, which was actually quite easy, believe it or not. I don't know. God, I keep saying I don't know. I know, God, it's you. It's you.
You know what? When you went through that process, you documented some of it.
I did. I videotaped it. I actually, during that 2020, because it was pandemic.
Yeah.
I was very open with my journey on all my social media platforms, and I was posting things on a regular basis.
Do you still have them? Do you want to reshare them?
I have them. Yeah, let's share them. Okay. I think I have a video of me when I was shaving my hair. Alex and I did it together, and it took us about an hour to do. Not because my hair was long, because when I came home from the doctor said, you're going to get chemo starting next week. I went home and I chopped my hair. It was down to my butt. I had chopped it all the way above my shoulders because the doctor told me it's going to be less traumatic if you cut it. So I chopped it off, and it was so cute and curly and short. And then Alex gets home and he's like, what did you do? Why did you cut it? And I said, babe, it's going to fall out.
It's about me.
It's going to fall out. Right. So it took about an hour to go through the process. And the reality is that we cried when we were done, because it was so, ¿cómo se dice? It was not sad.
Kind of like you felt
I felt like this relief, because the hair had been my whole thing. And I get that from my dad. My dad had beautiful hair. My dad was very vain. He always carried a comb. He was like Fonzie. Every time I see Fonzie, that's my dad. If he's walking and there's a mirror, he's combing his hair. So when we shaved it, and then some time had gone by, and I stopped him in the kitchen. I said, how are you feeling? And he said, I feel good. And I started crying. I said, I can't believe this is amazing. We both cried, because this journey I've seen on TV, and I've known some people that have gone through it, and I really thought this was going to be the hardest part of my journey, and it actually was the easiest. And Alex was actually mad because I look better bald than he did.
I said, you look good.
I rocked the bald. And we did that in 2020. We did 4 rounds of chemo, 2 major surgeries, as if that's not enough. Having cancer during pandemic is the best, because everybody's locked down and no one can do shit. So I didn't feel like I was missing out.
At that point, were you also put on any oral hormone, or were you gone over education on how your hormones are going to be changing, or lack of, and stuff like that? Girl. This is before menopause.
Yes.
Right?
I don't have any signs of menopause really yet, to be honest. That was 3 years. Well, what are we in? Shit. 2020. That was 4 years ago?
It was 2020, yeah.
So I was 41? I don't even know how old I am anymore, girl. another thing we got to talk about. Chemo brain, that's another real thing. But hormone changes, definitely, the doctor said once you have the surgery, you're going into full-blown menopause. And I thought, holy shit.
Just
overnight everything's going to change. You're going to have mood swings, you're going to have this, you're going to have hot flashes, you're going to. And so that same day I went on Amazon and I bought a waterproof like like bedding and everything, because I told Alex, ay Dios mío, I'm gonna
the night sweats.
I thought it was gonna be like dripping. I even the first night, girl, I put a towel down and I'm all laying like if I'm at the beach trying to tan and shit. I'm like, oh my God,
tanning in bed.
And you know what, can I tell you something? God is so good to me. God, you're so good. I haven't, other than having some pretty bad hot flashes recently, I don't feel anything completely out of the ordinary other than having severe anxiety right after because of the hormonal changes. And I think we should have...
I think that, and then you're also like, you're just survival. You haven't stopped to really process what you're going through.
You don't.
And then like that and the hormone change together, that just sounds it's fucking horrible.
Yeah, double whammy. I remember telling the nurse, she said, oh, your hair might fall off. I said, might, or is it going to? Because I want to answer. She's like, well, but I know how nurses could be. It's hard, right?
Well, because I've seen, so I'm familiar with the chemo that you were given. Not everyone loses their hair. That one I wouldn't say absolutely you're going to lose your hair.
Yeah.
Some people don't. It's more common that you do with taxines. It's likely to see you lose your hair, but I've seen people not. And there was a girl who shaved her head, one of my patients, and she didn't lose her hair. So it started growing, and it never, like, it didn't grow in thinner or anything. So she didn't cut, and then she was pissed. You guys said I was going to lose my hair. I said, no, I don't know who told you that. Dr. Google. It is likely. So that's why we always I
think you have to say that.
And it's the worst because you're like, well, what am I going to expect? Well,
yeah, because it's almost giving you a little bit of hope. Like, maybe it won't be me.
I know. So, I mean, I can try and go in. We'll do an episode of kind of just like the side effects.
Yes, because there's so many branches of this conversation. How you can help
someone going through it and stuff like that. But yes, definitely the nurse isn't trying to be a dick. The doctor's not trying to sugarcoat it by telling you everyone's different. It truly is. Everyone is different. We want you to have informed consent.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So hopefully they're telling you what could happen, and then they tell you like what they've seen, that hopeful side, which is kind of shitty, but we also don't want. So the reason I make sure my patients know that these things might not happen, is because oftentimes, especially my older Hispanic females, they immediately think my hair didn't fall out, I didn't get sick, that means the chemo's not working.
Ooh, never thought about it that way.
I get that a lot.
Wow,
yeah. If they're doing well, it's not working. No, honey, it is working.
Wow.
It doesn't make everyone feel like shit.
Yeah.
They feel like shit, but not to the extent where they're constantly throwing up, or what they've seen in movies, or what they've witnessed other people go through. Also, we're pre-medicating patients. And maybe 20 years ago, they weren't pre-medicating the way we are now. So they might have that relationship where their aunt went through it, or something else, like where their tia went through it, but their tia was really sick.
Yeah.
And now they're not having that. They think, oh, this isn't as good.
Yeah. It's not as powerful.
So I always make sure everyone sees both sides, but then I still end it with a very realistic.
Right. You have to be real.
This is what's probably going to happen.
Yeah. And not even if you and I had the same cancer and we have the same treatment, doesn't mean that we
could be the same age,
everything. It doesn't mean
that the same food.
Yeah. It's not going to be, it's just not the same. We're all different.
Always going to be different.
And always having somebody, having a tiny bit of education when you start the journey of, getting this venom put in your veins. If you talk to somebody who can have a little bit of perspective and knowledge, and I remember my prima who went through battle with her daughter, who's very knowledgeable, came over and pretty much said, like, this could happen, A, B, C, D. And I'm like, shit, this sounds fucking crazy. But I was so as scary and as it sounds and it could be, it's less scary because if you're going through it, you're like, okay, this is a little normal, you know, that I'm.
Yeah, maybe you don't feel so alone.
Yeah. So.
And, you know, speaking about that, if you're in healthcare or you know someone going through it and you're being that person that they're asking questions to, if people are coming to you and asking you questions, please remind them that it's a lot of information at once and it's okay not to grasp it all.
Mm-hmm.
And please come back with more questions, or don't, like, you know, reassure them that it's okay to ask their oncologist the same question again, or ask the nurses again. Please, like, don't feel like you're a bother or that you should know better. You've gone through a lot. That's a lot of information to process. Please ask. It doesn't bother us. Even if they have a response that maybe made you feel bad, I don't think it's coming from a negative place. And if it is, you know, screw that person. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah, because in the moment you can't really process or you can't remember, because that's happened to me so many times where I'm just like, what am I getting again? Or like, what's this one medicine? And then, but I've been so great. I just feel like anybody who's in oncology is an angel. Shout out to anybody who's in any medical field. I mean, any branch of it. So after my first, after, I don't want to say my, because I'm learning to say it's not my cancer journey. It was not mine. It is not mine. So I want to make that clear. It is not my cancer journey. It is the journey.
It's the journey.
It was the journey. So I am. If I say my, I feel like it belongs to me, and it doesn't belong to me. It was
Girl, get out.
I was just borrowing it. I was just borrowing it twice. So moving forward, 2023, some of my lab work was elevating in this direction that could possibly point to cancer coming back. And after a few months of checking and finally did a scan again because the scan wasn't picking up. And guess what? We had nice little guys coming back and visiting me.
Your little bears came back?
We had little bears. Doctor's like, oh, I was at Disneyland having a michelada. And the phone rings and it says Kaiser. And I'm like, because I had just had a scan, right?
Okay.
And so when I'm getting the phone call, they're not calling me to remind me of an appointment.
Because that's not normal.
No. Well, actually it is. But I didn't have any appointments coming up.
Uh-huh.
So the phone rings and I said Kaiser, and I told Alex, and I stepped away. He walked away with me. I looked at my sister. My sister had the look. My doctor says, we got back your results. There is some lesions. There's a lesion. She said a lesion, one lesion. Uh-huh. So I thought one lesion, American lesion, one little guy. And she said, okay, we're going to send you in for a biopsy. So they sent me in for a biopsy 2 days later. So she calls me back. No, in the office. I have an appointment, and she goes, oh, it's the same cancer, which I was praying for. And Alex and I were praying for the same cancer because obviously I want the same cancer. I don't want a new weird cancer.
Yeah.
She comes back and says, it's back. We're going to start chemo tomorrow.
Oh, Jesus.
Lady. By then, I had already started my new career, my new journey. And I said, can I figure out what I'm going to do? I need to call my mom. I need to talk to my people, blah, blah, blah. And she said, okay, let's start in next month, which gave me like 2 weeks to prepare. By then, I hadn't let my hair grow because I was having fun cutting it different ways, which is so funny because now thinking back, that's probably why I didn't let it grow.
Maybe you thought it was coming back?
No, I just thought that, I just think the universe and God were like,
don't
let it grow because, and then we started.
You were having fun though.
I was having so much. I love hair.
Yeah, and your hair.
I love hair.
Looks just good on you this way.
Oh, girl, this hair everywhere. And I'm all, well, that's another thing. But let's finish this beautiful story. You know why? I really do believe, and this is a God honest truth, that this journey with this disease has really elevated me to ways of thinking that I've never thought before. It has made me see life in a different way. I know that is something that they say is the most beautiful experience of their life. I can honestly say that because the second time around, I had a lot more chemo. Yes. I had more side effects. I lost a lot more weight.
You had lesions you were
trying to get rid of them. And it wasn't easy, but it wasn't impossible.
You saw the light at the end of the tunnel.
Every day I did.
It was never like spiraling out of control in your head where I can't do this. No. This is too much.
I never stopped working.
It's never going to end.
I never stopped working.
No, you didn't.
I did not stop working one time. And that was a healing thing that we can really get into in another.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
If you weren't your own boss, would you have stopped working?
If I wasn't my own boss, I would be, because I had already had that journey with working in a company. And it was like, well, when are you coming back from the big people? Mm-hmm. And it almost didn't feel human. No, I'm not talking about people that worked in the actual facility.
No, like the
I'm talking about like the corporate people. Like when, I remember one time the lady, she's like, well, when do you plan on coming back? I said, oh, when I don't have cancer?
Yeah.
Like,
and they're just hounding you. I need proof.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's why I feel like God has really placed us in this beautiful like partnership where the second time around was very, even though it was much harder with the side effects of the chemo that I still have, and that a lot of people don't know these side effects linger for a long time. Some of them permanent.
Some of them, yeah.
Like a month after the chemo, I'm like, there I am. Because every time I look, and it's going to make me cry. Every time I looked in the mirror, it's just like, I don't know who that is. I know the heart, but gosh, who are you? But when I looked in the mirror, I was like, oh, there I am. But having these long-term side effects that I really don't care. I feel like these side effects of the achy bones, I'm on medication for a very long time. I'm now getting immunotherapy, which is a form of targeted cancer treatment that helps my cancer stay at bay, stay asleep. As of now,
sleeping bears.
They're sleeping bears.
Keep them sleeping.
Keep them sleepy. And now this is the part of my life where I try to live a harmonious life, because stress, agitation, all of that alters your DNA and your cells. And so sometimes I don't want to be a dick when I tell people, like, I can't be around stressful situations. Like, obviously, if I have to deal with stress because of life, I'm going to deal with it. But I'm not going to put myself somewhere where there's chaotic. I'm going to stay home.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not coming over, girl.
You don't need to agitate that
I'm not coming over. Like, my life depends on it. I'm at the point now where my life depends on it, because my cancer is rare, and if it didn't want to go away, it can just linger around and just be asleep. So with all due respect, I want to live a harmonious life. I love you. But if you somehow are waking up my sleeping bears, I will, with love, will remove myself. Is that bad to say?
No, it makes sense. You're purposefully lowering your oxidative stress levels.
Yes, purposely. Right? Yes. And I can do that.
Intentionally.
And we can do that.
Why not?
So where we are now in the journey is I am getting immunotherapy every 3 weeks until the doctor thinks that it's okay not to take it. But also I could possibly be doing this for the rest of my life. And whatever the outcome is, and whatever I have to keep doing to stay alive and spread positivity and possibly help at least one person out there, this has definitely given me purpose. It has given me drive. It has given me an outlook of life that I never had. And if this is what it took, I accept it with so much love. A different kind of purpose, I think I want to say, because
I think now you even know your worth.
Honey, I think I know my worth. Before I didn't. And I think that's something we should definitely talk about.
And it has, I think I've seen a huge change in you in the past 2 years with when it comes to like your purpose in life and your worth.
Yes. I feel like this is such a blessing that I am learning my worth, and I'm moving in the right direction with trauma. Thanks to trauma. Thank you, trauma, baby.
Thank you, trauma.